Hello, I'm Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and welcome to this series, I Want to Be a Better Coach. And as a transformational coach, if we think about what is transformation, and we think about, let's say our clients are coming in as little caterpillars and they're wanting to grow themselves to the point where they actually are in the fulfillment of their butterflyness, whatever that means, the results, their heart's desire. They're going along, and then at some point, there has to be a place where a metamorphosis takes place. In a sense, there is a place where this chrysalis process takes place, and it can take place, I'll say, hundreds of times during a lifetime, and it can take place many times throughout a coaching process. So, I I um, I experience this quite often with clients, but I also experience it with myself in a sense that who we are, think about it this way, who we are is this caterpillar-ness person, individual, and all that is part of the imprint of that me-ness. Um, it has to shift and change and release itself in order to bring about and allow a different level of being. So quite often we come from a place of lack. We come from a place of can't be me, doesn't happen, in a sense of our caterpillarness goes, no way can I be a butterfly. But if our nature and our essential expression in the world is that butterfly, and that's what we want to experience, that full potential of our being, then we have to allow ourselves to dismantle, let go of, detox, purge energies and or whatever is not yet going to allow the fulfillment of our being. That's pretty big stuff. And I've experienced this with myself many times. It's like I'm on the rise and I feel excellent. I feel really good, and I'm closer and closer to feeling that fulfillment of my human spirit, and the manifestations are coming more effortlessly, which is really fun. And then I find myself dipping back down into something that feels yucky or stuck or sad or mad, emotions that I don't even know where they're coming from. And this is really an important part of being a coach. So I know I'm doing a lot of teaching here, but it comes from this question with people, from people who say, I don't know how to coach to that. I don't know how to coach to the metamorphosis process. So often, as coaches, we are always attending to how can I improve? How can I fix? How can I make a person feel better? How can I help them empower themselves to feel better, get better? And in doing that, we are not allowing the truth of the truth that we hear from all spiritual teachers, in a sense, now is where it is. And what is really important, in a sense, the metamorphosis that's taking place, the detoxing, the transition, the transfiguration, the transmutation. That's a lot of big words, but just mean there's something that's shifting inside of us. And as a coach, we have to coach to that, what I call the big fat be with, as opposed to trying to fix it or heal it faster. So here's an example. A client of mine, I'm going to change things up so that she's not recognizable. We'll call her Mary. And Mary is a physician, and she's went through her internship and her residency, and she wants to be a doctor. And yet at the same time, there's things in her life that are not allowing that to happen as quickly and as effortlessly. She feels the pressure of her past. She feels the pressure of, here's what my colleagues and other doctors are doing. And then at the same time, she's married, and it's like, here's what I should do as a mom, or as a wife. And what are my duties as a potential mother? And then she has these neighbors. It's like, when are you going to get pregnant? And she has her parents who want to be grandchildren. I'm sorry, want to be grandparents. All of this stuff. And it's like, who is she in there? And so she's exhausted, which happens to a lot of people who are in this stage and are becoming more aware of this, of the lifestyle that is not sustainable in terms of that level of exhaustion. That's going to create illness or disease, generally speaking. So in this process, in this conversation that I'm having with Mary, we're looking at who is she inside the chrysalis, inside, away from, different from, distinguishing from her colleagues, her experience, what she should be, her husband, all of these thoughts about what she should and who she should be. And in that process right now, what she experiences quite often is exhaustion. And she doesn't even know who she is in there. And that's what's true for so many of us, because we're so in the practice of running away from or moving towards something, we don't even know who we are inside when we're not running. And in fact, it's this, what shows up when there's when we're with nothing, we feel restless, irritable, and discontent. We feel anxious. We feel like I should be doing something. And this is what happens to me quite often, is I come to a place of peace and serenity and all, but it's not sustainable yet, in a sense that there's some other elements of me that are wanting to come through, emerging as again, from the caterpillar into the chrysalis, and that turns into a mushiness, if you will. And that mushiness is what we're coaching to quite often as transformational coaches, because this is where people get stopped and we think there's something wrong. If we think of the caterpillar creating the chrysalis, we don't think there's anything wrong with that. We go, oh, wow, it's going to turn into a butterfly. Well, the same thing is true for our clients, is that they're moving along and isn't this great? And then it gets difficult, or they get stopped, or they start to feel, they feel perhaps toxic, or they feel sick, or they feel symptoms. Like quite often people will get physical symptoms in their body, and it's just the energy moving through. We carry cellular memory from past lives, or our ancestors, or our own imprinting of our own unfolding. And we get to a point where it's like, wow, this doesn't feel fun anymore. This feels exhausting and toxic. And maybe I'm sick. Maybe I've got cancer. Maybe I've got something else. And all of those kinds of thoughts come in. And it's part of this natural progression, natural organic process of you being you and your clients becoming themselves. And in those moments of, wow, I feel yucky and nothing's happening, I think I need a psychiatrist, I need something other than, it's like, these are really great indications that we are in this state of detoxing potentially, or what I call a spiritual immersion, where we're going into the stuff that's just there. It's not like you have to do anything. There's nothing to do. It's just a matter of being with what shows up. It's like going through the basement stuff that's been there, for the clutter of the basement or the attic or some storage unit. It's like, it's just being there and seeing what's there and noticing potentially. And sometimes we don't even know what's there. A client of mine, I'll call him Brian, called it the abyssness. It's just like, there's this state of being that's just is. And in a sense, it feels like there's nowhere out, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, but in this moment to experience that. So as a coach, how do we coach to that? Big question, right? So it's a really good, this is really important. And in the, there's a playlist and a video series here on my channel called Inward Bound Bootcamp for Self-Transformation. And there's about 20 some videos, I think, of this process, and how to coach and how to be in ourselves in this process of the big fat be with, in a sense. Wow, that's a lot. And what we tend to do is want to fix it, heal it, convert it. This is where many of us reach for a glass of wine or some food. This is where we reach for medication. This is where we reach for our retail therapy. This is where we reach for our social medias. It's like where we want to avoid and ignore and distract ourselves from this place that is the big fat be with. So the big fat be with is just this place of being who we are now in this moment. And we tend to make it terrible, horrible, shouldn't be, it's uncomfortable, so I should get myself out of this. But this is where the alchemy takes place. This is where we're releasing what no longer works for us. We're releasing what's no longer ours and maybe never was ours. We're looking at and feeling like, wow, I've been doing this for so long and I never was fulfilled in that. Somebody I know, I'll call him Harry, was working at Google and had the great life, right, of somebody in Google. And he got fired or, let go. And he goes, you know what? I really wasn't that fulfilled in that job. And it gave him an opportunity to be in that place of what's true. What's true is that doesn't really fulfill me. So in these moments of big fat be with our clients, we're just sitting in the isness of of the moment. And how do we coach to that? In a sense, looking at myself as a coach and saying, how do I be with how do I be with my client? In a sense, how do I fix my client? What's the skills and the tools and the techniques I need to get my client through this? That's what we want to know, because that makes us feel like we can control the outcome. And in transformational coaching, this is not about trying to control the outcome. We have a need to try to control the outcome. We have a need to try to control the process. And this is true for every single human being. We're trying to control who we are and the expression and what it looks like. When the truth is if we allow ourselves to be who we are and potentially have a thinking partner or a coach to say, hey, I know you're in there. I want to know what that is in your fullest expression. Then we can just allow it to be what it is. So um, this part of me which has a need to try to control and try to control the process, and here's what you're going to do, I have to turn that part off and say, this is an individual in the gestation, in a sense, of who they are and who they're becoming, and honoring and respecting that. So first of all, reframing my client from they need help, they need support, I need to do something, from that perspective to, wow, I'm actually honored to watch and witness and allow, not get in the way of another person's unfolding. And the more that I grow that capacity to allow and witness and honor and reflect to them what I see in terms of like, wow, do you see what it takes for you to be you in this moment? Be you now with what is. They appreciate that wisdom. They need that wisdom in that and that witnessing, because people are in a state of going, I used to think this and I thought that was what I needed to do, and I'm scared because I don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And in those moments, we're not saying, well, here's what you should do, or why don't you try this? We go, wow, yeah, I know what that's like. I get it. And allow that emerging of a truth to come. It's a discernment sometimes, but more importantly, it's just to be with in this moment, in whatever it is. I experience sometimes this discomfort and I want to fix it. And I go, nope, we're not going to fix it. We're just going to be with it. And sometimes I feel sad or angry, or I feel just uncomfortable. I don't like what I'm feeling. And there's nothing to do except perhaps rest and drink a lot of water, maybe go for a walk in nature, maybe be close to my cat or something like that, where there's a natural connection. I also listen more intuitively to, what do I need right now? What do I need right now? And not in terms of what's going to distract me or how can I get out of this metamorphosis process, this chrysalis, get me out of here. But a matter of like, what can I provide for myself that's going to nurture me even when I'm feeling this way? It's much like having a cold or a flu or some other, we'll call sickness or illness, where you can't get out of it. You just have to nurture yourself through it. And having a coach and being a coach that can be present to a person, go, yep, I know what it's like to be have a cold. I know what it's like to have a virus. I know what it's like when you just feel miserable. Yep, you feel miserable right now. And the tendency for us is to go, yeah, we got to fix it. Let's just take a pill. Let's take something to make that miserableness go away. But if we see it as part of the process, this transition, that's transformative process, it's required. We carry cellular memory in our cells of memories and energy that's just there. We don't even know it's there. And we have to allow that to release, detox ourselves, purge, purify, whatever you want to call it. And as a coach, we can support and empower our clients. We can hold them and say, this is part of that process. This is the part again, of you emerging into you. And again, the Inward Bound Bootcamp for Self-Transformation link is below. Check that out because it's really helpful as a coach. And also if you're wanting to go through the transformative process, self-transformation. Quite often in this process, one of the questions that come up a lot with my clients is, what if I get stuck here? I know this experience, like, oh my God, what if this is as good as it gets? I don't know if you've ever, there was a movie a long time ago called As Good as It Gets. And at one point, Jack Nicholson as the actor says, what if this is as good as it gets? And that's, for me, a very profound question that I ask myself or my clients when things are the way they are, and maybe have been this way for a long time, and they feel stuck and lost. And I go, what if this is as good as it gets? And quite often it wakes them up in a sense, like, whoa, wait a second. What am I thinking? And it wakes them up in terms of saying, what if this is as good as it gets? And that quality of life, that quality of being and the experience in that moment, it can be profound for that individual. And for me, when I ask myself that question, what if this is as good as it gets? And it gives me options. So it's a question to potentially ask yourself as a coach and say, what if this is as good as it gets? How am I going to be with this? And it gives us an opportunity to look at, wow, I have some limitations potentially I have limitations, or I'm choosing to see myself with limitations. It opens up a parameter that maybe needs a little bit more opening. So that question, what if this is as good as it gets? It can be a big fat with, right? It's like, this is as good as it gets. I'm 72 years old. I think you already know that. But in that, there's people at this stage where they go, it's just going to go downhill from here. What if this is as good as it gets? What if this is as good as it gets? And it's like, wow, is that really true? Is this how I want my life to be? I want to know my full potentiality, and I might be 97 before I am done here on the planet. I don't know. But in the meantime, I can either be depressed and frustrated and sad and lonely and worry about my health and my decline, or I can go, hey, got lots to do here, got lots of potentiality here. As long as I'm on the planet, I have potentiality in this body. I want to know what that's like. So the point is that the questions that can come up and the truth that can be revealed in these big fat be with moments, it's very profound. And profound, not in terms of like, I mean, it's revelatory for the individual because we're giving them, as a coach and a thinking partner and a companion, it's part of being a spiritual companion, is we're giving them an opportunity to say, to answer the question, what's it like being you in there? What's it like being you in this moment when it appears as if nothing's happening? It appears as if you're not doing anything, but in the moment, you're in this process of becoming something. What's it like being you in there? And when we can ask that question with curiosity and fascination, and again, honor and a sense of privilege to be able to witness individuals in this state and stage, it's extraordinary for them and for you. So just keep that in mind. Last thing I want to cover, which is the same in a sense that quite often your clients are going to come in and go, yeah, nothing's happening. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go. I don't know. And I have days like that and moments within my days is like, there's nothing to do. What am I supposed to do when there's nothing to do? Where am I supposed to go? What? And this is really important too. This is part of that. We're so ingrained. It's so ingrained in us to be improving and proving and progressing and producting, that when we're in these stages of transformation, if you will, and we're moving beyond our limited perspective, we go, wow, all I'm trying to do is be productive, but for the sake of what? I'm trying to be to accomplish, but for the sake of what? And now I'm in this point of there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. Like, ah. And quite often people get sick, get diseased, and have to lay low, if you will, so that they can actually stop the accomplishment for accomplishment's sake, stop being productive, stop all that stuff, so they can be clear about who they are in there and the choices that they're making and where those choices come from. Most of us are trying to accomplish and or create products because we're afraid we're not enough or that we lack something. And if our choosing comes from lack and fear, that's not ours. And this is true for our clients as well. It's like they want to be something, they want to have something, they want to do something. But what's the source of that? And quite often in these questionings as a transformational coach, they get clear like, wow, I'm not actually being me. I'm being my strategies. I'm being my identity. I'm being the roles. I think I'm the role of the mom, and I have that essence of me, but I'm not that role, and I'm not that, and I'm not that, and I'm not that. It's like, what am I if I'm not all that? And it can be, this is where crisis of meaning comes in, and this is where midlife crises come in, and crises of faith. It's like, I don't know who I am in this. I've been doing all of this, just like Brian at Google. I've been doing all this, but the truth is, it's not that fulfilling. I want to know what it's like to be me in that fulfillment, the fulfillment of my human spirit. So those are just some things to think about in this process of wanting to be a better coach, a more effective coach, is watching where we're wanting to try to control this process of transformation, when all we can actually be is the witness and the champion and the companion of individuals along the way, so that they can experience for themselves the process within being in the process and being able to go, wow, this is fascinating, to really explore this human experience and the spiritual experience, this transformation. All right. So I hope this has been valuable. Again, I wanted to talk about how you coach to stopped and stuck, like what's really going on here. And this is usually where people are in the process of creating their chrysalis and going through a metamorphosis. This big fat be with, I want it to be different. I want to be out of this. I don't like the discomfort. And it's like, yeah, this is what is. This is the isness. And being able to support and empower people to be in that, in the discomfort of it. Because mostly it's discomfort and uncertainty. How long am I going to be here? Maybe it's forever. Oh my God, maybe this is who I really am. And maybe there's no way out. Maybe this is as good as it gets. So being able to coach people to that, it's not difficult. It's just shifting our heart from that place of they should be different. And if I'm not doing something different, then I lack and nobody's going to want to hire me, to this is our work as transformational coaches, is to be with people through the process of their own transformation. We are champions, we're companions, we're spiritual guides, if you will. We're thinking partners along the way. So the more that we can be present to where a person is without pushing them or cajoling them or making them want to do it differently, that's really helpful. That's our job, I think. All right. Two things. So it's August right now, August 22nd, I think, or it will be ish. In September of 2024, I've got an intensive coming up. on the 14th, and it'll be the 14th and 28th, an intensive in transformational coaching. We'll be talking about things like this. So if you're interested, there's a link below, and I'd be happy to see you there. All right. Blessings to you and your journey, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye for now.